Okay. Well, make sure that everything's actually working properly and that we have audio and all that stuff before we get another
Halfway.
3.5 hours in before we realize, hey, there's no audio.
Have you managed to go back and kind of fill in the audio for that one?
No. The plan is to go back in and do a like director's commentary style, but also getting that sorted up. So we have audio on there, and I can share this right at post. And I'm going to adjust this. That's fine. This is going in here. Let me write a post to my nope. There we go.
To my nope.
I have it set to where now, so as people should be able to see, it's now going live to cosplay as a WIM on WIM, but it's just going live to a page. I'm trying to set up a gaming dashboard on Facebook. That way, when you go to Facebook Gaming and you look up Dungeons and Dragons, it'll be like, here's this, and it'll actually be in there, and that's where we'll live stream to. But haven't figured that one out yet entirely, so we'll get that set. I have to get a new Restream service, possibly. I have Restream, but they're saying I might have to have a different one for that.
What, different than Rumble or?
No, Rumble's great. So we use Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch are the 4 platforms we stream on. And I use Restream to go through, but I might have to switch to Streamlabs. Because basically what it has is that we have OBS, which is what they're seeing. OBS creates the video, and then it goes into, OBS sends it directly to Restream, and Restream sends it to the 4 different platforms.
Oh, okay.
I might just have to switch that to one that is more adaptable. We'll see though. That being said, cool. And we're getting notice that things are going live, so that's good. With that in mind, I want to say thank you guys who are viewing our stream. Today's going to be a little bit of a hectic day. We are still dealing with the time change and getting schedules sorted out with net/Lopal. So we won't have Lopal tonight, as well as we won't really have HighPal tonight for most of the part because they are together. And then due to primarily legal ramifications and random other stuff, we will not have a Xylo tonight. So that's something we'll just kind of work around. And because, you know, 9 to 5 jobs are always fun and they're not always 9 to 5, sometimes there's 9 to 7. We are going to be having a late joining of our DM. So that's going to leave us starting off, and so we'll just do some fun RP stuff and get things going.
All us doing what we do best.
Yeah. That in mind, right? We had the opportunity to possibly run a one-shot tonight, but don't really have, I mean, I have a bunch of one-shots lined up. I have a bunch of things that I could do, but I feel like we'd be kind of stepping on toes. Oh, I did already move some stuff over. So I'll need that. Zero is not going to be here, but we will have the 2 of you guys will be here.
I think that's my Hero Forge character.
Right. the really fun thing with Weave-Blight is that Alex has created a really fun world for us to exist in. He's created something that we can play with and build upon. There's lots of background options, lots of different ideas from different ways about it, but he's created a fun world for our characters to live in. And so I say, just for tonight, we'll just take some time while we're waiting on him to join in, and we will just live in the world that he's created for us. Let me get audio set here. Last week when we ended off, our group had encountered this Paradisum ritual. We're preparing for another Paradisum ritual, in which we're being told that the people in Paradisum live forever, with no wants, needs, or desires, but that there's this guy who's just like, well, I'm getting old, and so I want to give up and move on to the afterlife. There's lots of questions I know my character has about that. But then also we went and saw this other Paradisum ritual in which we walked into a pool of water, entered into a chamber of blood, where we fought off people who had been overcome with the curse of lycanthropy.
And I screwed up.
Did you screw up?
I did screw up because I bit it.
You bit it?
I did.
Oh, yeah. But we have the thing.
Yeah, not how Alex looked at me. He was like, oh no. So.
I don't know if Alex is watching us or not. He's messaging me just saying that. But hopefully he'll be able to watch it and watch us just kind of play. But I know my character is just kind of like, okay, what's going on here? And has the vibes. So when we last left off, we had a night down, and then we're going to go and watch this ritual take place. Low Pal and High Pal have their own room set up, but Rain, Mist, and Xylea are in the other room. So we're kind of returning back to our room for a night of rest, and then tomorrow we will move in on, or we will continue on with this ritual and figuring out what we're doing and move down. Does anybody want anything to drink?
No, thank you.
Do Guinness.
Go. Do you want a big one or a small one?
Oh, I'll do the big one.
That hurts.
That's your last one, isn't it?
Technically, yeah.
Technically. Last big one. Oh, well.
Now it is.
That is.
If I crack mine open first, then it is.
Cool.
But we are returning back to the room after a day of exploration and rituals and people not wanting to answer questions about mirrors and such.
Yeah.
But I'll say we just kind of start off there with the three of us. You two. In the room. Kind of amongst ourselves. Oh, the title's a little sticky. I gotta clean it. It's almost like there's a little bit of overspray from the glue that I was using. But we are in the room. Returning back. The rooms have two beds and a desk on it. Mist will walk over and just, as kind of normal for him, we'll go with an indoor city setting. There we go. He just goes over and he sits down at the desks and starts crafting and building as we all settle into the room. What are your guys' thoughts on the day?
Do you believe me about the mirrors, or do you think I'm absolutely insane? There's something weird.
There's a lot of weird things happening in this place. I saw the mirrors myself. If I focus and he kind of closes his eyes and you see the bat turns its head and looks at you, I can see and hear through this creation. There's a link between us. Kind of goes back and the bat just kind of goes back to its thing. So I saw the mirror, the enchantment that made us incapable of going down the hallway. Yeah, I saw all of that. The mirror, even when I saw it, it made me look different in minor ways.
That doesn't freak you out?
The mirror is, I guess, unsettling, but it is a magic item designed to create an idea. I'm more concerned with the idea that creatures here live forever. My understanding of this is that should not be the case. Do people live forever where you guys come from?
No.
No.
The mirror didn't necessarily change drastically the way I looked, as from what I understand, it is an image of one having lived in Paradisum for a small eternity, or for a while. My personage, what I am, in theory, is timeless. I don't age the same way that other things do. So, I have an understanding of the concept that I will live until I am destroyed and incapable of repairing myself. But normal human, halfling, elves, even creatures that do live for long periods of time don't speak of eternity. So I feel like there's a lot of strange things going on here that we can delve into. We can try to understand, or that we can try to avoid. I know they speak of no one wanting to leave here, but I can definitely say that that is not my feeling.
I'd be happy to be on the first train out.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely lycanthropy. Though I believe they're feuding. They clash. Vampirism and lycanthropy have the same things going for them, but they clash. And it just strikes me as they were using lycanthropic pets, almost. It's kind of what it struck me as. So the only thing that strikes me as eternity is vampirism. So yeah, I'd say so. I'm too fond of this place.
Well, and it is the fact that no one ever leaves. It's like, do they convince people to turn? Or force people to turn, and then of course they're not going to leave because now this is their new home.
Well, if it is impures, as you believe, as we clean up a beer. That'll be fine. We're done with these islands anyways.
All these are good.
Well, I guess no, we still need some of these. That'll be fine. I'll set them out. They'll just look weathered.
Right.
I mean, if you can weather stuff with some tea, I bet you can weather it pretty well.
They'll smell a little like
With some
a
Guinness.
brewery, but
Yeah. We'll let those sit right there. That'll be fine. We'll try to stop karate chopping beers. I'm not making any promises.
but you're really good at it though. So.
I
did a great job.
I am a pro at spilling things, so
What I know, given my rolled a religion check and did decently enough, I would have basic understanding. What I know of the ideas of vampires is they are very beguiling. They tend to control certain creatures, bats, rats, wolves, rodents, creatures of the night, as they say. They tend to dominate over, as well as humanoids who have weaker minds or who fall to the magics of their nature. The red glowing eyes would be an indication of vampirism. Vampirism would explain how you create longevity at that level. It would also explain why other things aren't as necessary. Things that normal people see as being needed to sustain life, vampires would not necessarily need. They would need food sources, but whatever hemocraft they created, they brought us into a room where we were up to our knees in blood, which is what they would be in need of. So they obviously have a large amount of it readily available. So vampirism makes sense. Zelo is clearly afflicted with lycanthropy. Not only have I seen it here, but even before we got here, when he was hunting for the rabbits for the ritual, he took on the more feral form.
I did not see that.
I had Root with him following.
I noticed you got those rabbits pretty quick though.
yeah. I just don't want to be convinced into something that will trap me here. And that's kind of where it seems. Like, we're trying this happiness.
Well, I'm wondering how many nights sleep we get before we're attacked.
Yeah.
Attacked.
I'm all-
Persuaded. Just not overly fond of this place.
Yeah, and it's just so...
The blood and the rituals, and it's not my thing.
no
And,
straight answers
mhm.
when asked. Like, I'm all for dominance, but I don't want to get bitten by these things and turned into something.
I don't see myself being able to
I don't see you having a problem with this.
experiment
not having a blood or circulatory system like we do.
Seeing the mirror, which transformed you into a lycanthropic, or I guess, sorry, a vampiric alteration of yourself.
But that wasn't completely accurate either, because from what I understand, vampires can't be seen in mirrors.
True.
So I could see me, but was it the magic letting me see what it wanted me to see? Obviously, the red eyes. But other than that, I appeared the same. I'm just wondering if being in this area is a proximity thing. I mean, it's a certain amount of time. Hey, just stay here for a week, because it only takes us 3 days to get you.
It is getting us to fall in love with the idea. First, loving how we look in a different form, and then with those powers that we briefly had during that battle, is loving that new power that we have over things. If we become obsessed with that idea and those new fun things, then we'll want to transition. So it's all a mind game.
Well, so you can look at it from a simple standpoint, a functionality. When we talk about the mirror, everything I do has a function. I don't do things that don't have function, because unlike certain creatures that have whimsy and joy from these things, I don't understand the need for non-function.
It strikes you as a waste of time, I would suspect.
Yes.
You could be doing something functional or constructive instead of something useless.
If the mirror theory is correct, that vampires can't be seen in a mirror, then you wouldn't want to have a large mirror, as they have. Unless you could create a mirror that was capable of showing you what you look like under the effects of paradism, which would be the vampirism and such. So this mirror, which takes it views what you are doing, and it creates an illusion, if you will, upon the glass. A vampire may not be able to be seen by a mirror, but a mirror would be able to magically scry upon that vampire and create an illusion of that vampire. The vampire would not see their own reflection, but they would see the illusion being created.
Yes.
The magic's there. The function of that mirror is to, as far as I know, show vampires effectively what they look like. So the function of that, given the idea that vampires can't be seen in a mirror, it makes sense to have a magic mirror capable of projecting what it would be for you. I see no other function for this. So it makes sense to have that from a simple logical standpoint. The idea of lycanthropy and vampirism, there are similar traits, there are overlaps, both physically and culturally to an extent. The ability of vampires to kind of have control over creatures of the night, in some circumstances has been thought to ascribe to lycanthropes as well, meaning that vampires do draw the attention of lycanthropes in certain situations. Powerful enough vampires who are capable of controlling them. Though the werebears that we encountered seem to be beyond control, imprisoned in there for a simple ritual of attempting to just keep them there until somebody comes along to fight and kill them as a rite of passage, I guess. view
Well,
it.
that was his rite of passage. I don't see how bringing us in could possibly work. I mean, he's the one who has to earn that rite of passage. I don't see how he could have done that by himself either. So, what exactly was our real reason for being there
Yeah, exactly.
still escapes me.
Depends on what the rite of passage is. If the rite of passage is simply a attempt of understanding, well, let's look at this. What do we know of Zelo? He is of noble birth. His mother commands all of these lands. I've not seen a father. He has a brother. So you would not be looking for a rite of passage that is simply a feel of brute force, rather attempting to say, do you control, and they spoke of him having control of the lycanthropy as well as his vampiric nature, the blending of it, which could cause him to be a creature of great power, but also unbridled rage, struggling within himself to combat the two beasts which are fighting. It could be also a trial of diplomacy. Are you capable of gathering up a force to be reckoned with? Maybe we are the trial. Are we capable? Is he creating an army? Is he creating a strike force,
I
or
don't
whatever
see
you want
why
to refer to us as?
a culture that could live for eternity in a paradise would ever need to venture out and find individuals such as we are.
And he's not trustworthy, as if he would answer questions honestly, and he doesn't hide that he's being dishonest. That's
Yeah.
my issue. Some noble person won't be truthful. It just seems like a lure, because this was all happening even around when we were
Someday
getting that bag.
They're going to call those, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Politicians. That's
I mean, it seems like that's exactly what he was set up to be. But even from, you know, a while ago, he was mentioning, oh, well, let's go to my hometown. And it was ominous. It was very, very ominous.
When he arrived, he was with a cart of adventurers. We were attacked by goblins. I'm still not sure. He hinted at the fact that he thinks the goblins arrived because of my arrival, though I hadn't encountered many goblins. The last time I encountered them before arriving at the crossroads was when I was traveling with a wagon, and it was a horse-drawn carriage. I believe the goblins to have been attracted to the sound of the carriage, though now, as I think of it, it may have just been, you know, another test of sorts. Have the goblins attack the town, find out who of the town is capable of defending themselves, and then attempt to bring them together. It could be. I don't know. I know that if what I know of myself is true, then I will live until something changes that. I will not phase out. I will not succumb to the effects of aging, as most beings do. I will just continue until something more powerful than I determines that I am not to continue anymore. So if I think of that upon my ideas and my desires, I think of longevity as being increasing my personal power, increasing the strength of those around me. My prime goal in life is to find creatures such as yourselves and help you to increase the thresholds that you have. Help to...
I'd prefer to do that without either vampirism or lycanthropy.
Yeah.
This is, it is an option, but if you do that, you also, pure lycanthropy has its downsides, pure vampirism has its downsides. These creatures tend to live greater durations, but their thresholds aren't necessarily increased. From, as I know, there are still creatures that are capable of being destroyed quite easily by normal mortal men, heroes of legend, as they say. But you hear of veterans of great battles and heroes who have done great deeds, and their ability to shrug off things that would normally bring a normal person to their knees, that would instantly destroy them. There are many theories on what can increase these thresholds, what can strengthen the body, what can make more viable existence. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to learn how it is that you can become another creature capable of sustaining wounds that disappear when you return back to your form, or how you can be in a very tough situation, taking much damage, and shrug off a large portion of that, just kind of shake it off and move past it. You have very interesting capabilities, and I think that if I can help you to stay alive and continue on the paths that you are on, that you will become greater creatures, and surrounding myself with greater creatures will help me to protect the longevity that I am given. So that could be exactly the idea that Zelo has. If he is, and I question if he's a true vampire or lycanthrope, or what levels of mixing of these things he is. We've seen him travel in broad daylight, thing that most vampires are incapable of. We have seen him through changes of the lunar cycle, not drastically, but in a couple of weeks, with no change in his lycanthropic behavior. His necklace seems to suppress that. The necklaces were given to us to protect ourselves from it as well. So they have ways of controlling and sustaining these magics and curses and states of being. But I don't know what blending they are at, but I know he is capable of doing great things. He can consume a creature and regenerate immediately. This is not something most humanoids can do. Usually takes you guys a while to recover from wounds. But it's an interesting situation to be in.
I don't understand the point of not being honest if he is trying to be helpful. At that point, it just tells me something bad is going to happen. He's clearly not ashamed because he brought us here. We were just, knee deep in blood, for God's sake.
Have you heard stories of werewolves and vampires in your life?
Not many, no.
Have you? Have you ever heard stories of nice werewolves or vampires in your life?
Yes. But it's just a means to an end, which the end is not nice.
So conniving.
Well, perhaps this balance that he is creating between vampirism and lycanthropy, this hemocraft that his people do to strengthen themselves, perhaps the reason he is not forthright with us, the reason that we don't know his true motives, is because the simple nature of telling us would make it impossible for him to achieve what he is attempting to do. At the risk of damaging what we hold here, I will tell you that for me to help increase your threshold and your liveliness, I will need to do rigorous experimentation upon you, and at points in times that may not be pleasant, but it will be for your longevity. But if I said that to you the day I met you, before you had seen my capabilities, if I told you I was looking to march with you into direct harm's way, so as to understand how your body adapts to different types of damage and different types of sustained injury, you would probably have told me to not accompany you. But now that we've been together, I think you understand that I have no malicious intent towards you. I simply wish to do what I can to help you do what it is that you wish to do, and to keep you alive for as long as possible.
I don't think staying here is going to be in our best interest to stay alive. There's something wrong.
Well, and then that also comes down to the understanding of what it is that you think staying alive is. I would say, by all measures other than reality, Hypal is alive. Hypal functions and has sentience, but he is unaware of the fact that he is, by all means, a undead creature. He doesn't actually sleep. He doesn't breathe a lot of times. If you're not actively observing him, he tends to forget what he's doing and succumb to the state of death. He is clearly a creature of undeath, but he does not know that. I believe that there's a chance that there is some of that taking place here, that the eternity that they have is an eternity of undeath rather than life. Undead creatures are sustainable. Maintaining sentience is important. I feel that Hypal has lost a lot of that. It is mainly observable when he does not understand that you're watching him. but I think if we were to stay here, you guys would last a long time, but I feel like your thresholds and your ability to expand as creatures would end. I feel that journeying forth would be better for you. But I don't know what it is that you guys are even looking to do. I know very little about you. You know very little about me. We kind of just joined together and are moving along.
I want to get rid of what is tearing through this place. Restore nature, get it back to where it was, because right now it's just getting annihilated. Dealing with vampires and what have you is the least of my concerns, and not on my bucket list of things to do. This is not my objective, and that's why I also want out of here. Because more time here is more time wasted and more things dead.
True.
We have no place being here. None. He did his thing, he did his ritual, now I would like to get back on track. Because that is my home out there.
I have been here traveling. I have been traveling here, and I have effectively, to my understanding, existed for 82 solar cycles now. In that time I have learned a lot. I don't know exactly why I am here, why I have the desires that I have, but I look at the Weave-Blight, the curse upon this land, the destruction of magic, the corruption of magic, the fact that using magic can pollute something. And then I understand that in theory the creation of something such as myself would take great magics, meaning that whatever created me is capable of great magic. So I may have been created to come down here and keep things alive and experiment on the life forms living within the Weave-Blight. As an attempt to better understand it, and as a way to perhaps cure the Weave-Blight. So I feel in that we are aligned. It would be logical for a creature of great magical capabilities to want to remove it, and I would be a useful tool in that. Which brings us to you, Rain. What is it that you are looking for in life?
Answers. There were people from the south where I'm from who have disappeared. We've tried finding them, cannot. So I agreed to go venture forth and do what I can to try and find out exactly what's going on, what this Weave-Blight is. See what can be done about stopping it.
Yes. I can say this is as far south as we have traveled, and there's always word of creatures to the south disappearing, and I can say that from my understanding of the process of exsanguinating a body, it would take many creatures to
That's almost the best.
it would take many creatures to create a chamber such as the one that we were in. There was a lot of blood. There are also a lot of creatures here that live seemingly forever. If creatures live forever, under the guise of vampirism, there will be a need for sustenance. So this could bring together why there are so many creatures disappearing, between wanting to create pools of blood for rituals and wanting to keep a town of vampiric people alive. That could be the case. That said, we also came into the room where the hags were doing their rituals. There was clearly a lot of blood, which was not all chicken blood. They summoned the abyssal chickens to do certain rituals, but there was a lot of humanoid and beast blood upon those walls. So things like that could be responsible for it. I feel you say you are traveling for answers, and all I can offer you at this point is more questions, but at least that tells us we're probably in the right direction.
Right.
The only answer I guess we would have is that Paradisum may be taking a mass amount of people and murdering them. But I don't know.
In your heart of hearts, do you think we could just request to leave here and be safe? Or do you think that there might be some issues if we
I'm saying
to leave? Because it
we tell them in the morning, hey, you know what? Your ritual last night was wonderful and fine and fun and good times and all, but we got things you've got to do. So, your guy's going to off himself, more fire to him. We're going to go out and do what we need to get done.
Yeah.
And see what it takes to get out of here.
It just seems like there's been a lot of social pressure, and so that's why I want your take. If you think it will go easy if we were to just walk out
I think
of
if
this facade of a
if
town.
Xylo goes with us, it'll be no problem. But if Xylo wants to stay here, they might not want us to go.
How much he wanted to come here to begin with without any major context, I don't know if he would be willing to come with us without immense persuasion.
I don't have a heart.
In his empty space of empty spaces. Do you have something that pumps through your body?
You have 16 separate pumps within me.
Then pick one, and they'd be the biggest one of those would be the heart that she's speaking of.
I'll draw a heart on a piece of paper and just stick it on him.
I have 4 in my torso that are about the same size.
Yeah, just pick one of those. That's fine. Yeah.
I think that if I lived forever and had a city set up and there was a disease coming through, I would be interested in curtailing that. And perhaps that is part of what Xylo is doing. I believe his brother, though they seem to be relatively close of age, I believe his brother to be older, which would tell me that his brother would probably be the heir. But if you live forever and you are the queen of this place, you don't necessarily need heirs. You could keep one on hand And you can send the other one off to protect what it is that you created. So us traveling out in an attempt to better understand what is creating this blight could align with his goals as well.
It's true.
I think we did something good in destroying the hag encampment. The statues and altar they had there seemed to enhance the blight. And destroying that helped to, at least in the immediate area, clear up the pools and some of the rot that was accompanying it. I feel that we will find more out when we reach this island. I also think we should make sure we get a boat of some sort, as crossing water is not easy.
I've never been on a boat.
I'm not very buoyant.
It's true, you could just walk to it.
I don't need to breathe, so I could walk across the bottom of the lake and go where we are going, but
I can turn into a whale. Just saying.
my concern is that there are things below the water that I don't know. There are deep pools of mud and thick types of things that I could walk myself into, become trapped, and lost too.
Just get into my whale mouth and you'll be safe. Jonah.
I feel that any creature that compels you to safely enter their mouth is probably lying to you.
Listen, I'm not Xylo, so I'm at least being forthright. Oh no.
I feel that Xylo speaks in weird ways, but I think I get more of a feel that Xylo is protecting himself rather than attempting to derail us. I feel that the way he speaks and the way that he avoids the truth is to protect his people and his lineage more than it is to deceive us or bring us into harm's way. But I also, at many a times, in fact every time except for with you guys, I have misinterpreted the people around me, leading to us separating.
And I just don't generally trust anything that lives in a structured city. They're generally just terrible. Only care for themselves and nothing else. They have ulterior motives. And especially those born within some higher ranking of a city.
I do feel that, from what I understand, creatures who live in the wild and people who come who are more primal, more attached to the lands, are much more sustainable. The folk who live in cities tend to not really know how to take care of
They have
themselves.
a detachment from the land.
Boy can't separate from mommy.
I think that Zelo isn't what I would consider a typical city dweller. He does seem relatively capable as we travel forth. I think that the needs of his people ally with our needs. But if we bring the blight to an end and find a cure for it, I think it would be a good idea for us to write that down with him and say, here, take this to your people, rather than I feel that he will have a grand thing of, please come back and we will celebrate what we have done. That would be the point in time which I would be worried that you would not be as capable of leaving. As for now, keeping us here is not very serving. I feel that if they wished harm upon either of you or myself, they would have already done that.
It's a psychological thing. It doesn't have to be physical right off the bat. It can egg at you, it can convince you, it can lure you in. Not all harm comes immediately.
Makes sense.
That's my concern.
I could understand
That's
that.
true.
I say we get out of here. And plus we're totally deviating from our initial objective that we all agreed upon. That's
This-
how we ended up.
Is this guy just going to get thrown off a cliff?
That's what I said. So if he pitches himself off a cliff, that's I can't even begin to imagine what their wonderful right must be.
I was very interested at first when I saw the way that when I watched Zelo use his hemocraft abilities to pull fire from his blood, to consume the blood and flesh of others to heal his own wounds, to thrust his will upon other creatures. When he does his gaze thing, his eyes kind of bloody over and creatures then miss on attacks. I don't know if you've noticed that he does that. But when he does these things, I thought this is very important. Hemocraft is highly tied to the alchemy that I do, and understanding how a person's blood and immune system and circulatory systems, as well as your innate resilience to the serums that I create. It's very important for me to understand this. So I was very excited to see this ritual that would destroy somebody of that I'm peacefully, and I was hoping that it would involve serums and alchemy and creating sedatives and things that I would like to learn more about. But if they're just going to throw him off a fucking cliff,
It could be
I
it could
really-
be something as simple as removing the magic that screens them from the sunlight.
Yeah.
Turns to dust.
A whole cliff?
wasn't was
No, I just
Somebody brought up a cliff?
I just
Did you bring
threw
that
that
up?
out. Yes.
did you? I remember
I just threw it
hearing
out.
that. I just didn't remember where it had come from.
Still, it all just is too weird. And then when Rain and I both got those brief powers, the first thing Zyla said to us was, "Did you like it? Did you have fun?" No, I didn't. Give me myself back, please.
True. You did tap into the Hemocraft arts that he does. Encasing your bow and natural weapons with the fire. This is good for some, but I feel that damaging oneself to be more effective in battle can be counterproductive.
So really,
Mhm.
since battle itself tends to damage you.
This is true. Since even with traveling with you guys, I've found a couple times my defenses aren't quite what I expect them to be. Normally, goblins are not very capable of inflicting damage upon me, but lowering my guard, paying attention to high PAL, low PAL the first time, and then moving back the second time, I found myself even succumbing to minor wounds that I should not be receiving. So I look at that and I know there is definitely things I can learn. If, for instance, there is an alchemical means of removing the protection from the sunlight, I feel it would be important for us to see that. If we have skepticism over Xylo, if we are curious as to what his people want from us long term, being able to use their understanding of themselves against them might be beneficial.
I think they just want the numbers, and that's the only reason why they want us here. And numbers for what?
Somebody's got to donate to that blood pool. It'd rather it not be me.
True.
Yes. People would have to donate to that, as well as people would have to if you are doing the same thing every single day, it can become monotonous. The idea of eternity without the idea, this just coming from myself, without the idea of experimentation and finding new experiments and new ways to challenge myself seems pointless. I don't think I will ever fully be able to sustain other life forms. I don't think I will be able to upgrade life forms to a point that they are innately sustainable indefinitely. So I will always have a challenge in that, but if I were to stop traveling, stop challenging myself, if I were to set up a town like this, I feel like the only joy would be from adding to the collective. They may just want to add more people just so that they have diversity over the millennia which they are living.
I think you like looking at the best of things when they really shouldn't be looked at like that. I understand you're inquisitive and you don't maybe sometimes always like seeing the bad in certain things, and that's what I've come to understand. This is one of those things where at least our gut is telling us something's bad. And at that point, when my gut's telling me something, I need to don't give me that look. I need to surpass any possible good.
You completely missed him with that one.
Yeah, I don't communicate. I don't have a digestive system at all. I think I understand what it is you are trying to allude to. But what I think you are missing, you say that I see the good in things and that you see the bad in this situation, but I don't think there is such a thing as good and bad. I think that there is purpose, there is logic, there is function, but good and bad
Or subjective.
We are looking for some children that were lost. I think I may have encountered the child Doyle, but he had succumbed to Weave-Blight, and I put him out of his misery. So, if we were to tell the mother, I found your child and I murdered him, she would be distraught seeing the bad in what I do. But I encountered a child. When I attempted to offer him sustenance, his body reacted to the alchemical nature of the vitality cube, causing him further pain. So I ended him. Some may look at that and say I did something good, putting a creature out of its misery that was suffering from a terrible blight. I would say that both of them are purely subjective, that the life form was no longer viable and I ended it. It's not about good, it's not about bad, it's about function and purpose. My purpose is to create more viable life forms, to help you to be better. And if that's not something I'm capable of, then I have no purpose with you. It's the only answer I have.
Well, based off of my logic, I know I don't want to be here. My logic is this is not good, this is not in my best interest, and we're going to end up screwed.
No, and I understand that. I'm not saying you are wrong.
No, I know
I'm saying
you're not.
that
I know you're
don't
not.
live by the same rules or ideas that you have. I feel that this ritual of peacefully ending the life of a creature that can live forever may offer me insight into what I can do the next time I come across a child who is suffering from the blight. Or if one of you succumbs to the blight and are in terrible pain and will live days of agony before dying, I can just stop it.
I think that's reasonable.
The hope would be that we can cure the blight, but if we are incapable of that, then my intent would be to make it as agreeable to you as to myself.
It'll be interesting to see if Xylo would be able to succumb to the blight.
It would be interesting. I'm interested in seeing what happens if any of you succumb to it. I don't know yet if I'm capable of doing much for you rather than sustaining you with the blight, but as I come up with new ideas, like the stinger that I came up with, which seems to be slightly better than the healing injector that I offered you before. But as I come up with new ideas, I think I will be able to better sustain you and protect you from the blight. But as of now, I have no idea what I would do if one of you was blighted. My immediate concern would be the other of you. We would want to try to keep the one who is blighted somewhat separated, to not cause the others to become blighted as well. But if we can just figure out how to cure it, we can go through. That being said, I mean, if you all get blighted, I will be with you until you're not around anymore. And I will do everything in my ability to end the blight.
So I have a proposition. Now bear with me. It sounds crazy. I really don't like the structured fuckers that were around. What if we just, I don't know, borrow one or two and subject them to the blight, and then we can figure out from them how to cure them instead of any one of us potentially getting to that point. Borrow a human, several. One less of them is better for me.
Well, see, that's a subjective thing I was speaking of earlier.
Well, yes.
We would see that as something good. They would see that as something bad.
And that's fine. That's okay. Everybody is. They can feel how they feel, and that's fine. I don't care.
Well, then they
What they
feel how
feel
they
like.
feel, and they're going to try and impose upon us what they think is good, vampirism or lycanthropy. And we think that's bad.
What if they don't need to know where they went or how they left?
I'm saying that would be a trick.
Just saying we have options here.
I suspect we can go out into the wild and find plenty of creatures who've been affected by the blight.
See, we would need something more in semblance of a humanoid, because a blight might affect various creatures in different ways, and we don't know that. Granted, yes,
It does.
I don't really want to do that to any animals.
The blight affects all creatures differently, depending on their innate ability to tap into the weave, which in itself is blighted. I can say that I have seen animals that have been affected by the blight. I have seen trees and plants affected by the blight, as well as humanoid creatures affected by the blight. Humanoid creatures tend to have the most strange reactions to the blight, growing scales and altering in form, whereas
That's a possibility of that is because they are more capable of tapping into the weave.
exactly, trees and such, they tend to just sort of rot from this, dying and becoming less viable, as we've seen. Animals are changed in ways, but not as, again, I feel it is more tied to their ability to possess the capabilities for what would consider magic or crafts of that sort. I don't know. I think watching this ritual and seeing how somebody who effectively is the same as Xylo, finding out how they peacefully end their lives, would probably at least give me a better idea of how their life force works. For the sake of good, I would possibly be better at keeping him alive, and for the sake of bad, I would know better how to stop him from being alive. If something were to happen and his people were to try to keep us here after that ritual, I would potentially know how to recreate some of the alchemy involved, or some of the magic involved in an alchemical way. Though it doesn't always work as planned. After you made us all bears, I found out how to make or how to create a potion that can do that, but obviously it's not quite as good as what you do. The body metabolizes the potion and fights it in ways I was not expecting. But I can still alter a form, having simply had you turn us into bears once. So if I see this ritual once, I may be able to create a serum that can copy whatever it is that they're doing. I may be able to protect us from his people. And that could help us for getting out of here.
That's true, because I was figuring that the longer that we stayed here, the less our chances are of getting out of here.
Agreed. I would say maybe this should be the last night we stay here. We watch the ritual tomorrow. We do that, and then we move on. And we try to get as far away from the town after the ritual as possible. Maybe even sleeping in a little bit, being well rested, and being ready to.
I don't remember what time was this ritual supposed to go down.
It was early.
I think so. I can't say exactly, as I know they were talking of it.
I know it was
get lost in my own
morning.
thoughts at times.
I don't think it was later, unless I'm mixing up the initial kerfuffle that we were stuck in to this. But more than positive it's in the morning. I don't remember. Do we know why this man is just dying?
From what I've gotten, he is tired of an eternity of life, and so he is choosing to enter into what he sees as an afterlife. Logically, I have no proof that that exists beyond that. As I said earlier, I know that if I got to the point where I felt that I no longer had purpose, an eternity without purpose would be the worst thing I could imagine. So, I believe that this person lacks purpose, lacks drive or reason to continue. And so they want to no longer continue. But perhaps their capability to sustain themselves has something to do with killing off some of their people to continue it on. I really don't know. I feel that we'd have to see the ritual more. We'd have to understand these people much more to understand what it is that they are doing and why he is doing this.
Yeah, because these sort of rituals are usually more of a sacrifice to a greater something, not just like, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to jump off a cliff, and that's that. There's usually some sort of gain for those that do not die.
Yeah?
Granted,
I don't know. I've not dealt with any other life forms that live forever, necessarily.
Well, undeath shouldn't really be considered a life form.
True. I mean, there is certain viability to it, but there's no longer growth. And death kind of is a point in which one finds a level of sustenance that replaces the idea of growth. And I feel that growth is your strongest suit. Although high power seems to be becoming slightly better, which makes me question some of the ideas of that. I don't know.
I think he's just becoming better at faking it.
He's also capable of sustaining slightly more than he was before. Maybe just becoming more resilient. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I'm saddened that they are in their own room, but I'm also, it's probably for the best. So I feel that their lack of ability to understand the nature in which high power exists, the pushing and the low power's desire to keep high power alive, as he sees it, could cloud their judgment in some of this. Though, as I think of it now, I wonder if perhaps it is low power's desire to keep high power alive tied with his ability to manipulate the arcane arts that is keeping high power alive. Simply him coming to terms with the fact that high power is not a living creature, but rather a creature of undeath, could sever his desire to keep his brother alive. Thus, him coming to terms with his brother dying could cause his brother to die.
It's a possibility.
I don't know.
And while I find them odd, I don't find them to be nearly as pressing of an issue as the place in which we find ourselves now.
I concur.
So, I would like to find more Gith, though I doubt that they are. Have either of you found other Gith?
No.
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm excited for a point in which maybe Lopal dies, to see if he stays alive as well. Just to see if that's how they function. That's not the best course of action. I will not push for it, but
I mean, I can.
I know what
I'm
happens.
okay with that.
I don't want to necessarily. I would like to, if low pal's existence is what is keeping high pal animate, then I think that it is important for us and for myself to keep low pal alive and high pal animate. If we keep them around, I can learn a lot, which can be useful. But if the gods deem it that Lopal shall fall, and I am incapable of stopping it, I hope that he remains animate, and his brother does as well. Okay.
I think that's best saved for a later date. If we were to obtain a ship, do you know of where to obtain said ship?
I don't think we need a full ship, but more
You
just
had mentioned
a small boat.
Oh, well, yeah, where can we obtain a boat?
I mean, I would fear that there would be people near the source of water that would have some sort of ships for sale. If not, that's a good market.
I guess that's true.
We could ask here. They're offering us a wagon. Perhaps we could get some sort of boat that could be attached to the wagon. A boat and a canopy for a wagon could kind of double if we were to have the baselines of a wagon and a support structure and then a boat on top of it and tops pulled over that, or large skins that could create an area that is away from the elements and protected, and then the boat could also then come off.
I think that's a really good idea. We should actually do that. It'd be helpful.
If nothing, it's something I could do, but it would just take some time for me to do so. Time and materials, but with time and materials I can do pretty much anything. But we can work with some stuff. We could always. I like the idea of a wagon. I don't like the idea of beasts of burden and the need to pull the wagon.
Yeah. That's definitely an issue I did not even think of.
I can sustain them, so that's not an issue. We are at the point now where I'm sustaining 5 of you. So I still have the capability of sustaining 5 more creatures if we wish to reach out to that point, but that means that the ability to use vitality cubes as not just nourishment, but also as a way of curing wounds would be diminished.
Yeah, and at that point, I'd rather pick my poisons and have healing and vitality over.
The stinger seems to work well. I'm glad we got to test that out today. And as you see, and you'll see, like, the stinger has like 3 little, like, the tail that he has like 3 little nubs that are almost reformed. By the time that we are done with our rest, he should have fully reformed 3 stingers. I would like to increase that, but for the moment, having 3 additional healing darts per day seems to be helpful. It's hard to create a device that is capable of creating more. I don't know, I'd have to refine it to where it's more viable. I'll look into it, but for now at least I think that this is a good creation for us.
Yeah. That's without a doubt.
Is there anything in particular that you guys are looking for that I could perhaps create?
So you know those spines I was collecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you... How comfortable are you with weaponry? If at all?
I'm comfortable with it. I don't specialize in it. But I have to understand quite a bit of how weapons are made and how they function to understand the type of damage output they have, to understand the way that they affect the threshold of the creatures they are fighting. I know a lot of the second-hand aspect of weapons, less of the front-hand. But what is it that you're looking for?
I would love to make a spine web.
Spine whip?
Yes.
I'm looking to create a long whip with segments of spine along it. Are you looking to create a whip with, or a spine segment with a whip attached to it?
The first.
So
Segments of
long
spine.
section. So you'd be creating a large, long whip, and throughout it you'd be doing that. That'd be relatively simple to do. You'd be replacing the nervous system within the pieces of spine with braided cord of leather.
Mm-hmm. And then it's just enhancing the durability of
Spine,
the
so
bone
that
itself.
they don't break. Yeah, I think that's doable.
It's a good secondary option for when I run out of spells.
Tell me about it. The way that you all tap into the weave, I wish I had this innate capability. My body is capable of creating a certain amount of alchemical substance per day, which I can use to create different, for lack of a better term, spell-like effects through my alchemy. But it is definitely not quite as potent as any of you have. Which is why it's important that I take time and think about different creations I can make. We can get some leather. If I can get some fine leathers and a couple of substances, I think I could create a pretty good whip for you.
And now secondary weaponry type question is the teeth I've been collecting. If I sit there and sharpen them a little bit. Teeth grenades. Explode, like I said, point them, make them pointed.
So you want all the teeth pointed in the same direction.
Yeah, and then
So
it
you get kind of a funnel
penetrate
thing.
into people and get stuck.
That's easy. That is creating something like an alchemical fire or something of that nature. Creating a, I would say, create a bowl-like substance, heavy on one side, or maybe a sparking mechanism on the other side. Potassium nitrate, charcoal, and sulfur combined at the right ratio, filling that bowl, covering, perhaps beeswax or something pulled over it, and then laying the teeth into that would create something of that sort. It's something I could do. Getting my hands on potassium nitrate and sulfur charcoal would be all that I would need. If we get beasts of burden, that will be helpful. Not if we use the vitality cube, as the vitality cube would eliminate the need for them to graze, and thus the need for them to have waste, as the vitality cube is 100% efficient. But you can make that from sulfur. We would need to get our hands on. Do you know of any hot springs or anything like that in the area?
Not that I'm aware of.
Zelo is more native to here. We could always ask him. Hot springs are going to bring up a bit of sulfur. I believe that sulfur can be found from pyrites as well. Potassium nitrate can be created over the course of a little bit of time by refining the salt and waste of cows and horses and such.
Yeah.
You can use that to create potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate charcoal can be created by really burning anything.
Yeah, that's easy.
So, yeah, that's something I can do. I will speak with them as well, maybe see what kind of things I can get. A lot of people use certain salts that work in place of potassium nitrate for keeping meats and such from spoil, salted porks and such. But if you are a bunch of vampires and you live off of blood, you probably don't have a lot of salted pork around.
But they might have alchemists around that may use that.
This is true.
So, I think it'd be worthy finding an alchemist before we bail out of here. Just to see. Just by chance. If they're willing to help us or screw with our minds more. I don't know.
If my mind seems to be altered in any way, I hope that you will do what you can to get me out of here. I will promise to you all that if something happens and you seem to be like, hey, I changed my mind, let's stay here, I will make sure that you leave to the best of my ability, one way or another.
Yeah, we'll do our best to protect you as well.
Definitely.
I will draw up the blueprints for a spine whip and for a fang bomb for you, and we will start working on what we need to create that. That's absolutely in my capabilities.
And I'll keep my eyes out for any ingredients that would be of use.
Rain, is there anything that you are looking to have created?
No? That's probably what I have right now.
No desire for better things?
I suppose there'd be better things, right?
I simply ask because with time, I can defend you and make you more sustainable. I can help you with creating things to defend and to protect yourself offensively. But I need to kind of know what it is that you are looking for me to attempt to do this.
Well then, definitely eyes up for better armor.
I can try to enhance the armor that you have. You use studded leather? No?
Yes.
And it is magically enhanced. The magical enhancements that are upon it are about as good as what I can do at the moment, but I can look to do more. I know you don't do much with shields, but I could always potentially help you with something like that. I have idea. I've been looking at the way that I made Blut and Kablut, and I have ideas for a shield that could be animate upon itself and thus defend the wielder without taking away your need for...
That would be amazing. I need to get the rest real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Nope, never going to be a lot of magic like that. Never mind. That is majorly out of stuff, so I would have to actually make that, not just replicate magic item for that. I hope you guys are enjoying our roleplay session, and Mist and Rain and Xylia just chilling in the room, trying to come to better understand each other. You know, things happen sometimes. Anybody who's played a real session in D&D knows there's lots of times where you go, oh, this person's going to be gone, that person's going to be gone, and a lot of times you guys call a session, And we could have done that. We could have been like, hey, let's just call it. We'll get together next week when we have more people available. But instead, we were like, hey, let's do what we can. And it really allows you to get into and develop with the characters that you have. Last week, we got to really see Quiz's motivation in our Wednesday episode of Oceanbound. Got to really get a feel for his motivation and where he was going, and then you got to watch Ela and him kind of tee off of each other and figure out a way to go, how to end up just on top of a balloon as they went through, which was a lot of fun. But you know, sometimes things happen, life gets in the way. Sometimes people have other stuff going on, and the important thing is to still just continue on and have fun and play the game, and that's what we're doing here. Everything that we're doing here is happening canonically between our three characters, and so it's still like a legit thing that's going on. So it's just kind of like a fun option, and it gives us things to work on. So I can sit here and look at all the different like magic whips and things like that, and figure out ways to make it work. So it's gonna be fun. Did you find your thing as a Red Bull?
Uh-huh.
Or,
Oh, yeah. One of those, I need it.
Animated shield, absolutely a rare item, which means I'll never be able to just replicate magic items to make it. But I can actually make magic items too, so
Yeah.
it just will take me like 5 years to make it. So it's fine. We'll get our hands on some residuum and some other stuff like that, and we'll go from there.
Right.
If that exists. I don't know if that exists in this world, but eventually, though, I do know I eventually get better at making magic items. But just because I get better later at making magic items doesn't mean I don't make magic items now. So that's why I want to really, I don't think it's till like level 10 though. Level 10. Yeah, not really though. Level 10, you are profound at understanding how to make magic items. You can attune up to 4 magic items at once, I knew about that, but if you craft a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes a quarter of the normal time and costs you half as much of the usual gold. So I'll be able to make certain stuff really good, but it's going to all be greens. Just basic magic items. We'll have a bunch of basic magic items, like goggles of night vision.
Right.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
That I do not have.
Yeah, I don't have that either. That's why I keep a light on my.
That's smart.
I was gonna get into my mist outfit, and I was like, no, I'm so covered in sawdust still. Like I can feel there's sawdust in my ears
Right.
still. Like,
I'll start wearing my ears. I love wearing my ears.
I need to get some.
Shit, dude, I just walk around my apartment and wear them.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, when we leave this place, preferably tomorrow, immediately after the ritual, what is our immediate goals? Do we want to go to the lake and see about investigating the person at the lake? Would they know?
I think it's a good idea.
It's kind of on the way back to, headed back to Crossroads. I think going to the Crossroads and letting them know that we found a group of hags who were causing the blight to spread through some ritualistic stones, and were using humanoids to sustain themselves and to do their magic or whatever.
Power their rituals and magics.
Rituals. Might help them with the idea of what's going on. Letting them know that we killed one of 2 or one of 3 hags might let them know, like, hey, post up some sign saying, like, do not travel south, there are crazy hag people out here. That might help with keeping people from moving down that way. We could always go on a hunt for the other 2 hags and see if we can't find them, because there had to be at least 3, but I don't know.
I think we go to the lake.
To the lake. Do we want to hunt down the hags, or do we want to warn people that there are 2 hags moving around?
Hunt down the hags.
Okay.
What do you think, Rain?
You.
What is this? Oh. Oh yeah, he was messaging me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I got the same thing. I mostly replied without breaking it, but yeah, we'll see. Alex says there's a chance. Well, he said he's probably here till 6:30 or 7 initially, but he's saying there's a chance that
He'd still be there for a few more hours.
he could be there for a few more hours because there's a guy or whatever happened with the truck that was leaving at 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is the thing. I get it. I don't know. I feel like right now it's such a employees market out there.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're very direct with employers and it's like, hey, this is my time. This is when I stop working for this day. That they will figure out a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I can't blame Alex because, if I'm at work, which is why I 100% say I cannot work on Tuesday and Wednesdays because I know I'll be late if I do.
Right, yeah.
Because
You can't just leave till they're undone. I can't. I can't just walk away.
Yeah.
yeah, and I get that. So like I totally get his position on that. But it's why I just have to have like that super hard line. I'm like, look, this is where it's at. Because it comes down to it, in one of my bosses, like I was going to talk to him, and I was like, if I don't show up on Friday, you can fire me, right? I'm like, yeah. I was like, because the schedule is a binding contract, right? It's like, cool. Well, I'm not scheduled during these times, so you needing me out that is you violating your side of this binding contract. So that's what I really had to push for, and I just had to push for and be like, look, if my desk is on fire and the fire extinguisher is right there and the door's right there and it's time for me to leave, I'm leaving. And I hope somebody else comes and put out that fire. Like, I have to draw such a hard line because otherwise I'll end up in the same situation. Like, I end up with it a lot of times where something comes up and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to go in for like a 3-hour shift this day, and I
6
go
people
in,
call off.
and they're like, I call in, can you come in 2 hours early, plus can you come in an hour before that to train, and then can you stay 2 hours late and close, and then stay an hour late and do your training stuff? I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm scheduled for a 3-hour shift, which
just
turned
into
it's like
10.
4. I'm like, cool, but I'll come in and work 10 hours. Like, you're going to pay me for it. And it's one of those things, like, I'll stop what I'm doing to be like, oh, cool, I'm right in the middle of a project, but let me stop that to go to work. Like, I'll do that, but I have to have, like, hard times where I'm like, during my D&D time, this is my time. And, like, if you want me to think that your time, when I'm on the clock and working for you, is important, then you need to understand that my time is important when we're not on the clock. And this is where I'm at. But
yeah,
it's hard. It's really hard. Because, and I don't fault Alex for it. Like, I'm actually... Like it's a good thing to be able to commit to something, and even when you're like, I fucking hate this place, and most people would be like, fuck this, I'm gonna walk out, and then 10 years later be like, we need better minimum wage. It's like, well, if you didn't quit every job you had, you wouldn't be living minimum wage into your 30s. So there's different aspects of that, but
yeah, I mean, I started at AMR at $10 an hour, and I just kind of bit the bullet. And now, like, I mean, finally I'm making okay money, but sucks. But I stick around. I have to. And I'll try to schedule shifts, like, before D&D. I know that there's a chance I get stuck with paperwork, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna do paperwork at home.
Mm.
Because at that point, sitting in that career room after a minute, I want to slam my head into the keyboard.
Yeah. I feel that.
Especially like when our 12s turn into 14s or 15s.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have as much of that now, but I work the doubles on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so it's like walking in at 11. It's like, okay, well, we're open till 10, but there's a good chance somebody walks in right at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
As always.
Oh, they teased me so bad last night. So I had a table walk in right at freaking, it was 8:56. We closed at 9. 8:56, a table walks in. And they're going through, and I'm like, I go over and I take their drink order, bam, drinks out real quick. I'm like, all right, take the food order. I'm like, and I would normally wait longer, but do you know if you're going to want to do any strawberry cheesecake, apple pie, anything like that? Because the kitchen is going to be closing like 10 minutes after I put in your order. Technically, they close at 9. I'm like, oh, we didn't, like, you guys, that's like right, like, you guys are already closed, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. As they're going through, they pay the tab, and the girl pays the tab, and gives me an okay tip, nothing crazy, but they keep apologizing. And I don't know why, but they had $100 bill sitting on the far side of the table. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Are these people going to like drop me $100? Like, I mean, their bill was $70, and they gave me 12. I was like, that's fine. That's a great tip. Like, I'm happy with that. But I see this $100 bill just sitting on the table. And it's like tucked under a glass. I'm like, are these people like so sorry that they came in a minute before it closed and kept me here for this whole extra time that they're going to give me $100 tip? And then like there, I'll get up and then they grab it and walk away. And I was like,
oh no! Why
I still had a really good day. I was like,
Wow,
like,
yeah.
why would you like tuck it under a glass?
That's
I was like,
fucked up.
I don't know.
That is such a tease.
I mean, either way, I literally just treat them like anybody because I always treat anybody the same. I'm like,
Yeah.
I try to treat them like and not pay attention to the tips and stuff like that. But I was like, oh man, I was so
Close.
excited. I was like, oh, that $100 will go really well.
Last time somebody tried to tip me at work was a drunk man that thought I was a prostitute. Oh my god.
That's
Like, man, I wish I could accept that, but I can't. He's
Yeah.
like rolling around on this treasure, yanking out his wallet, and I'm just staring at him. He's like, how much do you charge? And I'm like, oh no. This is not what you think this is. This is not a prostitution bus, honey.
If anybody's getting fucked on this bus, it's you.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Let's see. You do go through lots of arrows. Do you prefer arrows or do you prefer your throwing dagger?
I think whichever one would be more effective. I mean, if the dagger wound up being more effective, I would love to just be able to throw those. But I find the arrows be more effective further range.
That makes sense. Things that I could potentially do for you, not immediately, but in the future, I could potentially enhance your magic weapon so that the attacks with it would magically create ammunition. And the ammunition, because it was magic, would hopefully try to bend itself towards where you're shooting, giving you a slight enhancement on your shots. The other thing that I could do, if it was something you were interested in, is I could take something like a dagger and magically infuse it, alchemically infuse it with a way that upon you would throw it and it would strike the person, again better enhancing itself to land truly and on the mark, and then it would return back to you immediately. I have a few ideas for how I could do something like that. But those are potentials for me. Whether you wish to have a weapon capable of returning to you, or if you would want something that is capable of shooting without actually consuming the ammunition. Something capable of shooting without creating the ammunition would be doable. I'd have to look into the ideas, but it's not too hard to do. If I'm doing that, though, I mean, I do have limits on how much I can create at a point in time. If I'm not creating further long-term sustainable stuff, as with the healing injector, I can create that and it lasts, but creating the stinger for Geblut takes away what I would need to resustain that and keep that going. So I can kind of only do one at a time, but I'll look into it.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Let me know if anything else that it is that you guys want to have built.
I can't think of anything else right now. Those two items have been my priority
Okay.
that I've been thinking about.
Okay, let's do that. Let me use the pot real quick. Be right back. Okay.
How exactly did you end up mixed into all of this? Like, the blights and the whole nine. Like, how did you meet Mist?
That's Crossroads.
Okay.
Made it to the Crossroads, and then he showed up.
It's all happenstance. I'm actually surprised I didn't explode this thing from rolling around in my car.
Definitely still covered in sawdust.
Right?
That's what it is. I don't have to drive anywhere later. Oh. Yeah.
Alex would like to apologize to all of us.
Oh, don't even worry, I get it.
For,
He doesn't have to apologize. Like I said, I mean, I totally get it.
I do too.
Things happen. And the
he,
thing
just,
is,
he just has to figure out that you're right. It is the employees market right at the moment.
and there's
You don't have to put up with that. And like you said, they'll figure out a way.
yeah. If you tell them, hey, I'm leaving at this point in time, we're gonna set. Because it's actually kind of funny. My
Like if my desk is on fire, there's a fire extinguisher right here, and it's time for me to go. Deuces.
yeah, I hope there's somebody else here. Yeah. You know, and it is one of those hard things, and it's, you know, it took me a long time to kind of figure that, but my bosses scheduled me a meeting at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, and I'm like, we play D&D at 5, so I'm not going to quit D&D to come to a meeting. And we kind of were talking back and forth, and it's kind of funny because like we sit here and we start talking about it and going through, and I'm like, look, it comes down to, you can schedule me on Tuesday or Wednesday if you want. And what you're doing is I'm not available on Tuesday or Wednesday, so these are my days off. You can schedule me on those times, and then I'll not show up on Thursday. Or you cannot, and I'll be there on Thursday. Thursday is when I'm committed to giving you that time. And so it's one of those things, you know, like you look at it, and I know Alex is absolutely viable. You know, he's a valuable asset to this company, and like they need him to keep everything running. But at the same point, because of that, like Alex also needs to look at it and go, they need me to keep this place running, and it's a shitty situation to be in, you know, and it sucks. But it's like at the same point, it's like, especially because I know he was saying that one of his bosses is moving on to a different job, and it's like cool. So there's probably obviously these gaps, but you've got some, you know, probably some corporate bigwig who's going like, well, you need to be here. He needs to look at it and be like, well, do you want me here for 50, 60 hours a week and understand that I leave when it's time for me to leave? Because I know he's definitely putting in hours. So even if it's 40 hours, but like, do you want me for 40 hours a week? I will give you 40 hours and I will work my ass off and get more than most people get done in 50 hours. Or do you want to start over and train somebody you knew? And they're going to be like, what time do you have to leave? You know, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to realize is like, you know, you definitely have to set boundaries because they will just take anything they can. But right now, everybody's looking for people. Everybody.
Yeah.
So you have to work with that. I don't know. This guy is struggling with life over here. This little flying ant. He like walked over and he flipped himself upside down. I don't know how.
Let's go outside from
I don't know if it's be much better than bird food, but
I mean, he doesn't have any damaged wings. Are you okay, bud?
those
There's-
lights get hot.
You're fine.
He might have flown into the light and burned himself.
Yeah, he's walking just like, oh, look at him, he's so cute.
Yeah, we get him down here every now and then.
Let's go outside.
We take him out. I have to spray later. They're probably coming, but burn us.
Oh my god, that's horrific.
But yeah, I don't know. I get it, and it's one of those things when I look at it, I'm like, you know, there's so many people who are like literally like they get scheduled for an 8-hour day when they thought they were going to get scheduled for a 9-hour day, or they're like, oh hey, can I request a weekend off? And they're like, next weekend? No, like you should have given us more notice.
Yeah.
People like, fuck this place, and they quit. And there's so many people who are so quick to just be like, fuck this place, I quit. And that's so terrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to still have certain boundaries, and you have to still be like, hey, look, I will respect your time, but you have to respect mine as well. And it just sucks. But even like I said with Alex, you know, it's great because I know, at least, you know, I knew hours before the session started what we were getting into. I was like, I feel like we can sit down and role play for a while, have fun with it, and get some stuff set. And worst case scenario, if we call the episode a little bit early, the session, it's be like, all right, we'll call it here and then move on. I know I don't think you'd hate actually getting to bed at a decent hour because tomorrow's going to be intense.
Yeah. It makes Wednesdays and Thursdays very difficult.
Yeah. But
And to say he's doomed for death anyway, but at least he's not down here.
Right.
yeah, it's good.
I
Struggling on the table with whatever. Just having such a hard time just walking.
there was this butterfly from work, ended up keeping alive for like a month and a half, 2 months. My partner, she got super spooked by this thing. I thought it was a moth at first because it had like fuzzy wings, and she wanted me to get it off of her. And I was looking at it, I'm like, oh crap, your wing is damaged. And I couldn't justify just like throwing it out the window or
Right.
leaving it to die. And he just sat on my finger while typing my report. We got posted for about 3 seconds. I'm like, what can I do? I grabbed a suction canister, neglected to immediately respond to his calls, threw some rocks in it, threw some sticks in there, put the butterfly in there, and did great. And then, like, when we went to the hospital, I went and obtained some cotton balls from some of the ER staff, made some sugar water, threw it in there. He was thriving. He did great in my little suction canister. And then, I mean, yeah, like, eventually he died. But I was sending pictures to my supervisor. I'm like, this is it. This is my calling. I am...
the butterfly whisperer.
I am a hospice
That's
for
it.
bugs. that is my calling. Any bug on the ground,
Yeah.
I'll bring it in, and I'll tend to it until it dies.
See, I'm okay with spiders. Ants
I
are,
love
ants, I'm
spiders.
like,
Spiders I
ants
think
like
are
to
on
get
my
into
side.
my food.
I don't like all these other little bugs in my house. They're fine outside, that's great. But inside, no.
Oh.
But if there's a spider in my house, like,
Oh, they're adorable.
dude,
Mhm.
we're on the same side here. You go do your thing.
You eat the bugs that want to eat
Yeah.
my food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
just
okay
hang
with
out,
that.
do your
Yeah.
thing. My line is like earwigs and cockroaches, and
No.
those make me uncomfortable. There's a reason why I don't have any like dead centipedes or cockroaches on my walls. I have a lot of other dead things, but not that. No, I love spiders. I think they're adorable. People think I'm crazy because, like, I'll walk into base and they're all screeching in the crew room if there's a spider. I'm like, come on, let's go have
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
And then I can just keep them in a corner, and this is why, like, everybody's terrified of me at work. For the 4 months I was gone, people that were, like, kind of knew who I was asked me where I was, and I convinced about 50% of the operation that I was locked up for demonic possession.
That's great. Heck yeah.
No, otherwise, like ants and stuff like that, I would like to keep outside and just let it not die in an enclosed area.
I figure they're doing their best, struggling to survive in this world just like I am.
Yeah.
Killing them doesn't make me feel any better about myself, so I'll just let them do their thing and I'll do mine.
There's something to go through here. Alchemy. This guy. While we're talking, I'm just gonna make an alchemy check. Yeah, that's a 10. I'm gonna say that I probably don't fully create a potion throughout the night, but I'm gonna be working on making a summon potion. Because that's another thing I gotta do. Granted, I have the herbs to make 10 potions. 10 just super basic potions, but make them now, have them later.
Right?
Start working on
That's
that.
smart.
I have to. Whew. The first time when I made this character, it was when we were playing, and I literally was making a level 20 version. And I'm like, he's gonna be such a badass healer. It's so awesome. I go through and look at him like,
And starting out,
I'm half caster. Like, everybody gets so much more spells than me. I get 3 first level spells a day, and that's it
Ooh.
at this point.
Jeez.
And like, most people have 4 first level and 2 second levels, and I'm just like, I would love second level spells.
right?
So I'm
Eventually.
like, I have to make things to sustain us. But it's fine, challenge myself, right?
Right?
Isn't that fun?
It works for the time being. That's what matters.
I'm getting it sorted out. I look at it too, and I'm like, man, if I was doing like a spellcaster, like damage dealer, I'm like, oh, I could do so much damage and like just crazy amounts of stuff. And then I'm like, but when you're playing a healer and you don't have heals, it's just
I know.
so painful.
That's
That's
a
a
bit
challenge.
contradictory.
Yeah, I have 3 spell slots per day. So if I want to do any other heals, I have to have something. Luckily, I got to make the 3 healing words, basically the 3 darts per day. That's helpful. That's based off of the super minute healing wand, the wand of healing, which just has heal wounds 3 times per day. And so that's basically what I used as the component or the basis for his healing stinger. But so potions, we'll make that. I'll try to look at ways I can enhance your armor. It's gotta be something. I'll find something.
Cool.
And then we'll look into like bow stuff. We might be able to make you a quiver as well that could hold a lot. Because you didn't get. Wait, you got a quiver, Alona, didn't you?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't even know how to make that.
I don't think it's on my. I think he said I got it, but I never did get it. Nope.
Yep, efficient quiver.
Where?
Up at the top there. See where it says efficient quiver, all equipment, backpack, efficient quiver?
Oh.
So technically it's, yeah, because it'll be its own container. So we can start loading that up with arrows and getting that all set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
Did
why
I show you
didn't
this
see
yet?
it. Hmm?
Did I
Yeah.
show you this yet? Yeah. Did you see this yet?
No.
We got an artificer box from Book Bishop. So it's got a place up top for like this is where I keep like minis and stuff, or you can put like cards in there, and a place for dice, and then I've got all my extra dice and stuff here.
Oh, that's super
It's just
badass.
this really fun little thing. This is a local guy who builds a bunch of stuff. Probably not going to be doing a lot of this stuff more. He focuses more on like super awesome like tables and furniture and bookshelves and stuff like that. Obviously, Book Bishop. But he makes like the coolest stuff. So I'm so excited to actually have one of these. I was going to get a couple of them potentially and like give them to people and then do a drawing, but I got the one and I know he's trying to go away from this and more into the bookshelf stuff, so I'm like,
That's fair.
okay, well I was going to get some giveaway and now I'm just going to keep just
Being a
one.
fabricator, I know that anything with moving parts takes so much longer to make.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
And the smaller it is with moving parts, it takes even longer to make.
Yeah.
So he's probably got way more time in there than he could ever get back out.
Yeah, well that's what
fair.
he was kind of talking about too. I mean, because I know this I think he sells for $150 retail, so I know not everybody can afford something like that, but that's so cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. Because and if you look at it, it's designed kind of for Magic the Gathering because you've got your 2 card slots.
Oh, hey, yeah.
So you've got 2 you could basically have 2 full decks and then like dice and whatever you need, dice tokens, whatever.
Yeah.
I got out of Magic really quick, so I'm not good at Magic.
I
I was hard, like I was so excited for Magic the Gathering when it first started out, but I quickly found that Magic is a very pay-to-win game. In a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I got really into it when I was in high school. I have about 1,000 cards. I have more than I know what to do with, and at this point I really just need something, because I haven't played Magic in 8 years, give or take. So
Well, see, and I started with Magic, and I pumped it about $100 into cards, which was like 5 weeks worth of allowance for me doing chores and stuff to get $100. And then there was kids who I went to school with who were like coming at me with like $500-600 decks, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I get like $100 a week for allowance, and I just buy a bunch of Magic cards." I'm like,
yeah,
I just
Can't
can't keep
compete.
up.
and then they can.
And then they're just dropping stuff, and I'm like,
really strong ones.
I'm like, yeah, it's great, but I'm like, and then I started playing D&D around the same exact time, and I was looking at them like, cool, so if somebody spends money, then that money, like they go, oh, I'm going to buy this rule book and set it down. I was like, cool, that's now available for all of us.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same level, and I was like, yeah, I like that a whole lot more.
Definitely way different.
But yeah.
I can agree with Magic being a fun to play.
Yeah, and I mean it's still a lot of fun. I love the Ravnica options that they brought into D&D and a lot of different stuff with that. Leonin is a potential option if Mist gets ganked. I might bring in a Leonin. I'm not sure. feel like I'm kind of pigeonholed into the healer slot. Because if Mitch dies, I have to bring in another healer. Because unless multiple people die, and then we can just be like, hey,
Right.
what are we doing? But I feel like once I hit level 6, it really pops off. 5 is good too. When I get to 5, I get a huge bonus. Level 4 will be, I mean, every single level I get an upgrade with this character, which is cool. At level 4, I'm taking the healer's feat, which allows me to go basically once per, I think it's once per short rest. Maybe it's long rest. Either way, it's just once per day, even if it's just that. I can walk up to you and be like, okay, cool, action, and you regain, it'll be, so I rolled a 1, so it's 5 hit points plus 1 hit point per level, so at that point you'll be level 4, so it'll be like 9 hit points, and that's when you're rolling a 1. So that'll be much like a nice sustainable extra heal per day using the healer's kit. At 5, anytime I use a spell slot to heal or do damage with one of my main spell things, I get to add my intelligence bonus again. So then all my heals become +8. It's like +4, so that's super helpful. Because then I'm like healing dart, and it's like 1d4 +8 instead of 1d4 +4. Makes it very, very better. And then at level 6, I get upgraded items that I can make. Then I can start making things that are just that do more. So like if I remake the healing needle, it'll be 8 charges per day as opposed to 3, things like that. So, but up until level 11 is when it's just over. Level 11 is when he becomes a super, super viable, sustainable. Granted, that's forever from now. I think about it, I'm like, 11's ways off. But I don't know. I like some of the lower level stuff though. It's still very life or death, but you really think about what you have.
Oh yeah. You have to use everything you have to the fullest extent.
Yeah. It was a lot, but when we were doing our level 20s, I was like, yeah, these guys were so broken right now. I'm just like,
I know.
I'm gonna go ahead and cast Wish 5 times in this combat.
Yeah.
It's like that's just too much. That's a little too much. Yeah.
5th level, I get 3rd level spells.
How lucky.
I know, I get 2 at 5th, 2 3rd level.
I don't think I get 5th level spells until 7th level.
Oof.
If that. It might not be till 9th level that I get 5th level spells. Let's see. 5th level spells, you say? Oh no, 3rd level spells.
3rd level, yeah.
Yeah, 9th level.
I
At
don't get
9th level, I get 3rd level spells.
Yeah, at 9th level is when I get my 5th level. I get 1 5th level.
I get 1 5th level at 17th level.
What do I get?
You know what I get? Well, you know what I cap off at?
Jeez.
At level 20, I get 2 5th level spells, and that's my highest spell casting.
Wow. At 17th is when I'll already be all the way up to 9th level spells.
Yeah, when you get 9th, I get 5th. Like I said, I'm a half caster. They have half the casting capability, but it's because you get other things. I will get other stuff, like I get heal once per day for free, and I get cure, or I get greater restoration once a day for free. I get lesser restoration, like fucking 5 times per day for free, and I get other stuff, and then I get to replicate magic items.
Right.
So by the time I'm level 20, I can attune to 6 magic items, and I can create a bunch of like really powerful ones. But yeah, especially because we're playing this game, seems to be a little bit more of a lower magic item. That affects it a little bit too.
See, I'm going to be 18th level because I can cast any of my druid spells at my beast shape. That's so far from now.
I feel that. The stinger though, that's a good one. That one helps a whole lot. The healing dart shooter that I set up.
That does.
3 charges of healing word is very, very helpful. But we'll go through. Make it work. It's still fun if it's not a challenge. I mean, I also played a cleric or a warlock of the light as a healer. That was interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. I have 2 very powerful cure wounds. And then we need the rest. And it's like, the D6s were helpful though too. Just like throwing out this, here's a D6, here's a D6, here's a D6. Like 1 D6 per level of healing light. That was helpful. But I'm like, man, if I just played just a legit healer. What was the other one that I was thinking about too? Is the more I think about it, maybe thinking Kenku, Grave Domain Cleric.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Was another option. Grave Domain has some really fun ones too. But we'll see. Hopefully Mist survives and lasts and we don't have to worry about that. But
I hate thinking about my character
oh, that's what I was
dying.
looking at. Huh?
I said I hate thinking about my character dying.
See, I think it's
I
a
rolled such crummy stats on Rain. All I'm trying to do is just keep fucker alive. after playing a character like freaking Stigmata, the amazing stats that I rolled for him at the beginning. God dang.
yeah, you did roll really well with him.
It was ridiculous. Makes Rain so much more challenging.
Right. I feel like steering into like the commander aspect of Rain though really can make him pop off. When we hit level 4, if you go into the Battle Master, that'll be super nice because that'll give you, instead of, because what, you have 4 dice right now, 4 superiority dice.
Yeah.
You'll get 8 superiority dice, and they'll be D8s. And I'm like, how many combats last much longer than 8 rounds?
Yeah.
So you literally be spending 1 per round and just throwing them all out, and doing just crazy fun stuff with it. In Oceanbound, the captain, he just became D12s. So he has commander strike. So he gets to be like, hey, you hit him and do an extra 3 points of damage. There's an extra 11 points of damage.
Yeah.
Like that's super nice.
That's consequential there, yeah.
Yeah. But it works. Like it makes sense for like the captain aspect of him, like him pushing that around.
Right.
And so he'll do fun stuff too. Like he can go like maneuvering strike and be like, I attack this person, you move over towards that person, and then you attack them.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start adding those things up, it's really like fun to be able to be like, hey, you, why don't you move over towards their caster and then attack them and do an extra D8 damage.
Yeah.
Like you start really controlling the field, and that's something you can do without necessarily. You don't really need stats, you know. So that's a really nice one to play around with. But plus, it's one of those things too. Yeah, and is basically every short rest you get all 8 of those dice back. We'll see.
Right?
Also have to figure out what your guys' goals are, and if we might be getting Jesse tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I saw he's headed his way back today.
Yeah. He was supposed to arrive back last night. I was supposed to go
but
pick him up from the airport, but
His first flight got delayed, so he missed his second, and he just stayed the night there. So,
Yeah.
in Orlando.
that's always the worst. And it's like, cool, your first flight's delayed, is it?
Uh-oh. It just snowballs.
Yeah. I hate flying sometimes.
The last time I flew, I literally set myself up with because I had one layover. The first one I set myself up with a 12-hour layover, and the second one I set with an 8-hour layover, and that's terrible. But my first flight got delayed by 6 hours. And suddenly I'm like, cool, I have a 6-hour layover now.
Right.
And my other flight was on time. I'm like, man, if I would have had a 3-hour layover, I'd have been screwed. And I'd have been there for 24 hours as opposed to 12. So it kind of worked out. I was trying to do more stuff too. It was fun. I walked around Florida and like just kind of chilled and checked things out. Oh, can you calm down? Wow.
I hate sneezing. It makes me feel like my brain's about to explode.
Oh, heard.
Heard? So, you know, brain matter just splatters on the wall behind us. You know, it's just because I sneezed.
Just try to keep it under control here, okay?
Me? Control? No. I'm about as chaotic as they come sometimes.
Yeah. So, we're going to leave here, preferably right after ritual, which hopefully starts right in the morning. Snag up low pal, high pal, take Zelo, and we're going to head to the lake. And then we're going to accomplish everything that can be accomplished at the lake. And then we're going to head to try to go back towards where the hag area is and maybe spiral out from there and try to see if we can find hags.
Yeah. I'd like to get them.
Worst case scenario, if we get to the point where it's closer to Crossroads than it's not, we can stop in Crossroads, tell them what's going on, and then continue looking for the hags. Because, I mean, who knows, maybe the hags just took off. They have a coven set up, the three of the hags are working together.
Kind of wrecked that, though.
And then we fucked it all up, so maybe they're like, alright, we have to leave and go find a new hag before we can do anything. And with that too, I'm like, man, I was like, it's okay, yeah, like me and them. I was like, well, it makes sense just to have him do his hemocraft, and I'll stay back and heal. So you guys get this little like attunement to a magic item that gives you like 12 extra spell slots, and I'm over here with my 3 spell slots. I'm like, I'm a half caster. I would love some counter spell.
Please. Donate.
It's okay. It's okay. I did it to myself.
Get you up there at some point, maybe. Never. No, we won't.
Never.
It's okay. You can craft a lot of neat things that will make you feel like maybe you could be a caster.
Well, at level 11, in theory, I will be able to create something that's kind of like what he has now, the tail stinger, that'll have 10 charges a day. So that's 10 heals per day. Like that's pretty big.
Oh yeah.
And then other things like that. And I can technically do that to anybody. I can literally like just walk up to somebody and be like, oh hey, boom, you can now cast Cure Wounds 10 times a day, or you can now cast Healing Word 10 times per day.
Jeez, that would be nice.
Yeah. So that'll be nice. But that's level 11. We have to make it there.
We'll be fine. We got this.
Of course.
You don't sound that confident.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I'm playing half healer, and also I'm playing half healer who likes to walk into like stupid situations.
No, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
It's okay.
of course. We'll all be fine.
That sounds less and less promising the more it's said.
We have a good amount of healing. I mean, we have healing potions. We have the ability to stabilize people. We have your guys' eye.
Well, and you don't need to worry about healing me too much, because now I can expend 1 spell slot, and I think it's 1d8 of hit points I
1d8
can get
per
back.
spell slot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
On myself. So that way you can focus
Yeah,
on
I
the
know.
others.
Because while you're wild shaped, you're typically a better healer than I am. I'm aware.
Wow. You sound upset.
No,
The more this is
I just look
talked
at
about, the-
technically high pal is a better healer than I am. Technically,
And you're the healer for the party.
and I'm the party healer.
Yes.
I guess not now. Now that I have the healing injector, I'm a better healer than high pal. But before that, it was questionable. We were like tied.
You're just along for the ride.
Yeah, it's
Trying
like,
to
oh,
fill
sidekick.
whatever void is.
Prodigy sidekick is technically a better healer than a artificer. Just depends on what you get, though.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's really, no, you're doing great though. I think you're really.
I can make anything work. I've worked with it. It's one of those things. I've been on the other side of the table. It's a super fun concept, and I'm really excited to play this character, and that's why I like where we're at, and I like that we're taking time, not doing the like every single session is a milestone.
Yeah.
Because like taking time to really like be like, all right, how am I gonna make this work? Because if this character works through all that, then when we get to those higher levels, he'll be so good at what he does.
Yeah. Gives us a chance to kind of hone in our skills for what they are when we really don't have shit to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you make a character at like level 10, and you have a character who you made at level 1 who you leveled to level 10, like they are not the same. Like they are not playing on the same level. Like that character that you leveled from level 1 to level 10 has so much involvement and so much like where you're like, well, when you take that level, you're not just going like, according to the numbers, this is the best thing to do. It's more of like, look, I've played, all these levels up into here, and I know that at this point I need this.
Mm-hmm.
And it really plays out. So. Sadly, I think it's going to take, it would take me a month to make potassium nitrate.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to see if there's any
We can look at
alchemists nearby.
Yeah,
Just
if they have salt, like
on the
saltpeter,
off
that's all we need.
chance. Yeah.
Because black powder is potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. And you can find sulfur naturally occurring in pyrites or in like sulfurous areas like hot springs.
Oh,
Charcoal
yeah.
you can make, and potassium nitrate you take manure and urine from like a cow or anything like that. You pour the urine onto the manure and you let it dry, and you do that for like a month, and salt crystals form, and you pull those salt crystals off and you refine them and you get potassium nitrate. I played a gunslinger. in a
Okay,
campaign
that's why I was just looking at you
in
like,
which we got pulled out of, I was like, okay, cool. We got pulled out of the world in which I was a gunslinger and thrown to a Curse of Strahd. I'm like, cool. I'm like, no one's selling black powder. How do I make black powder? And so I had to break down, and I was like, okay, potassium nitrate. How do I find potassium nitrate? How do you make potassium nitrate?
it's almost too good that I asked
So-
you for grenades then.
So it's funny because I actually sat there with a character setting a pot underneath our horses, trying to catch the urine so I could drizzle it over the cow shit that I'd farmed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I just break into some stables nearby or something.
People are like,
I just need it. Let me just be the cleaner for the day. We both win.
well, and I never explained either. Like my DM knew what I was like, okay, potassium nitrate, like this is a way to make potassium nitrate like on a farm. And this is like the only thing I can find for like how to create it. And she's like, okay, cool, yeah, that works. So we're sitting there, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take this pot and I'm gonna go set it underneath the horses and like try to catch urine. And everybody else is like,
What
what
you
is this
doing?
guy doing? just accept it. It's fine.
kinda
I
how
tried to
it's-
buy saltpeter. I was like, can I just go like buy like saltpeter, like just like potassium nitrate in the stores that they would use as a salting for salting pork? No. Okay, cool.
That's how I felt just collecting and dismembering things as we've gone along. I've had a plan, don't worry. Now I have more reasons to collect tea, then I can create more grenades.
Jesse, who hopefully will be joining us soon. We'll see if he might be a little bit longer till he joins this game, but he's going to join us on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But Jesse, he played a samurai who collected stuff, and it was really fun. He collected the skull of a black dragon though, and it was a very large skull, and that became an issue because it was just like he's just like dragging around this like skull. I was like, I want it. I was like, okay, cool. We're like, all right, well, what are you gonna do it? I just want it.
I just want it.
Oh, we made a fun one though with that. So a lot of the drows have rings of loyalty. Ring of loyalty is a band that you put on a ring, and when reduced to 0 hit points, you die immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, people can't capture you and torture you. So that's why they call it a ring of loyalty, is because basically, as soon as you're incapacitated, you die.
Okay.
But he fought with this giant glaive, and so I made a cool sheath with him that had leather that could be tied together around to like just have the rings on it, covering like the sheath of the glaive, and it had 200 strips of leather coming off it, so you could like tie 100 rings of loyalty onto it. We got up to like 26. And so like you were walking these drow towns and like, cool, this dude like killed at least like 26 drow warriors. That was fun. Hoping that we get Jesse tomorrow. We'll see. Hoping that I have everything built for tomorrow, because that's going to be a process.
Yeah.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Not really, though.
Not really.
No.
Sort of, kind of, but not really.
Sort of, kind of, but not really. No. It's going to look really cool, though. The new ship is going to be really cool compared to the old ship. And then you guys are going to fail to take it and be like, cool, that was
I know,
a waste of my time. If you guys don't take the ship, I'm going to be so sad.
It's like, you guys are useless, aren't you?
But that does mean that Mist will have to try harder, because Mist wants to get an airship.
There you go.
That is literally like one
Can't
of
use
his...
that campaign, you're using this one.
It's fine. It's just expensive. And if they... Well, I know they exist in this campaign at least. Because technically I was made on a airship. And that was the thing with that. But he wants to create just a badass lab on an airship, and you can just fly around and people can drop down, do whatever you want, come back up to the airship, move on. Is this you? Are you putting together you?
Yeah, slowly. I'm trying to figure out what
Yeah. I can get lost on that app on Hero Forge for so long.
yeah, it's been a long time since I have been on it, and it's probably for the better, but I really want one.
Well, you can make ones, and even if you don't print a hero, you can make a really cool like representation of your character. And if you send it to me with like the share option, I have the subscription with them, so I can at least do like really cool like portraits and stuff like that with your characters. I want to play around with them, and it's still another thing I have to do. When I can do things like it's like a tavern scene, and it has a bar and a second floor, and then 2 doors on the first floor coming out, and then a bar, a table with 4 chairs, and I can put all the different like Hero Forge minis. I can put them there, and I can like adjust them and like create scenery with them. And so like you can literally like I can take like if we had each of our characters made, I could take a tavern and put like all of our characters sitting at a table like discussing something. Or there's like one where it's like you're walking down a street, and it's like people walking down like a street, just kind of like display your characters, what they look like in like their traveling order and stuff like that. There's a lot of really fun things to do.
I didn't know that. It's changed a lot since I've last used it.
It has.
There's so much more stuff. I mean, I feel like each thing has maybe 5 items.
Also, just the level they got to with tag teaming with the printers that they're with. Like these printed, like 3D printed color minis, like they put so much work into that. Like,
It'll be nice to not necessarily have to sit down and paint every
yeah.
little. My first one, I thought I was gonna eventually just throw against the wall.
And I painted my first one, and like it was fun. Like I had fun painting it, but it's one of those things. I'm like, I have so much other stuff I'm doing. I don't necessarily want to spend that much time painting.
Yeah.
Up until I have painting days, that'll be really fun. I want to get a 3D painter or a 3D printer. 3D printer. I want to get a 3D printer on hand, and having when I get my own place up and running, literally having certain days where we're just like, yeah, we're just gonna like print minis and paint. And
I
$50, you get a
love
mini,
that.
and you get to come in and just like paint. We're just sitting around in a freaking little tavern, just drinking and painting minis.
That sounds like so much fun. I could die happy doing something like that.
The decision I'm at right now is, do I go more in town and rent a place, or do I really push the loans, go a little bit further out east, like almost Mark Shovel? I know. If I do something like that, though, I could have a building built.
That's true.
And I look at it and I think back to the Cinemark. When the Cinemark first put that over there on Powers, and we're like, why? There's nothing out here. Because back then there was nothing out there. But you look at the development, and now that's like so, like that feels centrally located.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is so different.
And I look at the 5-10 year plan for Colorado Springs, and I'm like, if I built a little bit out that way, they've got so much more stuff going on. We've got Space Force building a location over there, stuff like that. I don't know.
That'll be so far. It's fine. It's worth it. I can just take 24.
Yeah.
That's the downfall, like, that I hate and kind of regret about moving all the way over there. Is so many people live. But it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. But I look at the options and I'm like, I don't know, it'd be so nice. And the thing is, if I take out a bunch of loans and I buy a property and build a building, then every month I'm paying basically a mortgage as opposed to rent.
Yeah.
And so
You're
5 years from
absolutely right.
now, I go, cool, I own this building and I have all this set up. As opposed to 5 years from now being like, cool, I'm still renting this building,
Exactly.
and that's where we're at.
Just buy it, just get the loans, buy whatever.
But again, it comes down to what they're actually going to give me, so we'll see how everything lines up at the end of this month when I start moving forward. But it'll be nice. And then talking with the same guy who did these, might be building me 8 of these, like these tables, because I'm going to have 8 gaming rooms. That's the plan, is 8 gaming rooms, speakeasy, tavern, and storefront.
That sounds amazing.
Just depends on what we can go through. Granted, we're live, so I'm not going to divulge too much.
Right.
I don't need people stealing my ideas. And then I go out to get a loan. Oh, that's fun. We actually had a guy who got a loan for that just the other day.
No.
I say that like people are watching our stream. It's not just me.
There's 14 people, I think.
Is there? Probably. I mean, there's probably a couple people.
I don't know about right now, but I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, we get like 50 views plus per episode. It just depends. Are you not gonna? You're not even gonna. It's not even gonna let me see that we're streaming right now. Bring up the stream. Nope. It's gonna offer me to see that. Yeah. So yeah, we're still going. but it's fine. Trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, definitely probably just invest in a building.
That was my thought. But, I wish, man, I wish that Zila was here because we could pull Zila aside and be like, look, this is where we're at. What are your thoughts?
Can you be honest before a second? No?
I don't like him. He knows I don't like him. I have no shame. Ah, what just happened?
Yeah, but like,
What did you just do, Ashley? Okay, no, it's fine. I accidentally selected the wrong thing.
I was 100% sure that you didn't like my character at first because you're like, I don't trust you, I don't like you. And I'm like, well, we're gonna go murder goblins. You're like, okay, that sounds good. I'm
Well,
like,
so the thing
okay, that's
is
a
you're
quick
not
shift.
a humanoid, and so I think it was just kind of like okay, he's different. He's found a way to make it okay and safely. I can rely on this one, potentially. And how you explain things. So that's where I felt okay with you once she kind of came to that understanding within herself, because it makes sense.
Right.
You're not a humanoid.
I mean, I technically am a humanoid, but
Yeah, well, lack of circulatory system and
I just don't function the same way you guys do.
yes, and that's where I don't have the trust because I'm not familiar with you in regards to have immediate association of this thing's kind of a piece of shit. Now that could change dependent on, but so far Xylo's on my shit list.
Yeah.
Like bad. He's on my shit list. But it's
He-
fine.
he-
Rain has
he's
been
had-
neutral, so
Yeah. He's definitely had some things that have not lined up necessarily. As we go and step into pools of blood, and I'm just like, my thing is, I look at him like, where did you get all of this blood? All of this blood had to come from somewhere.
I don't like it.
You got a full temple of blood, like what was that, like a 60 by 60 foot chamber that was like 2 feet deep of blood?
Too much blood.
A lot of blood. Dripping from the roof.
Yeah, no. I don't like it. Oh, this is a family of rats. I love rats.
On the base.
Yeah.
Or, I'm gonna grab one of these.
Oh no, I messed up. Ah! Okay. We're good. It's going great.
And then I have some ideas of stuff to do, so I will run past Alex the ideas of what we are going to build and what I'm going to start working on building for you guys, and we'll see how well I can do this.
Is that rain? Yeah, because in terms of just having something that's not spell based that can do okay damage would be nice, because I have a decent amount of spells that affect areas surrounding.
Mm-hmm. So, if we're doing that, it would almost work like a flail. So I could probably make something. It would be probably like D6 damage, dex-based weapon. So it wouldn't be a whip, because a whip is D4.
Okay.
But because you're putting the ends on it, it'd be closer to a flail. But
Okay.
it wouldn't be quite the D8 of a flail. So it would be kind of in between, so probably like a D6. You'd still have the reach that you're looking at a whip. And it'd still be dex based. So you're looking at something that's like why are you not going to say that it's reach, but you're not going to tell me how much reach it is? on it. It's just 5 feet. I guess it's just 5 feet.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, so it's it'd have a 10-foot reach. It'd do D6 bludgeoning because of the way the spines were set up. It'd be more of like a flail, hitting and doing the bludgeoning damage. Something I could do though. I will try to get a hold of the equipment I need for that to reinforce that.
And I will help
Yeah.
find whatever it is that we need.
Yeah, we can definitely get some stuff going on for that. And then go from there. But I feel like we have an idea where the three of us are kind of more lined up, at least. So we have a feel for that.
I'm ready to bail out of here.
As you guys all get set. So yeah. I'm thinking we'll probably just call for tonight early.
Okay.
I know you guys both have early days. I still have plenty of stuff to work on. And I don't think there's much more that we can really push for. I can have some one-shot stuff set up in case we do have a day like this. But it'll be like, all right, here's a character sheet. And
Swing it.
we're in it. Because I have a couple of really fun one-shots that I've created for conventions. Respite is one of the big ones. That's a really fun one to play. Think of a one-shot that's kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn, like the movie.
Yeah.
But you basically show up, and it's night is setting, and you have to survive the night in a tavern.
So much fun.
Yeah, that's a fun one. So
That
I've
sounds
had
great.
that set up, and it's one of those fun things too, because it's like a one shot. And it's like you may just die. It's like, all right,
that
let's
would
hope
be
this-
my luck, is I would most likely for sure die.
But it's a fun option. So I can have things like that set up for us as well as we move forward. But I say probably for tonight we'll just call it here. Unless there's anything else you guys want to delve into or push into, or any conversations you want to push. But I feel like at this point we've talked for a while, and like your guys' characters would be like falling asleep, and my guy would be just kind of getting into making things and doing his normal nightly crafting items.
We came to a resolve of at least what we want to do.
I think we're gonna
Trying to make a potion.
do his little ritual thing and get the flock out of here.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page, because I was feeling a little lonely, and I don't like this.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with this anymore,
like-
especially after I was putzing around
I
that
didn't
place.
like the bathed in blood things. Like
Eh,
the guy's like, this.
something's not right.
And I get that. My whole thing too, though, is just like, okay, well, if we don't necessarily trust this guy, and they're saying, well, this is how we peacefully and quickly kill one of our own people, that is just a good bit of information to have.
Yeah,
Feels
yeah,
like-
no, and I
right.
see that. I definitely see. Oh no. I screwed up. I accidentally screwed up really bad, actually. I just don't like Silo that much right now.
That's fine.
I think I threatened. What did I threaten to murder him over last week? He did something that was like, oh hell no. It'll be fine. No, it's great. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get stuck there.
Yeah, and I don't want this to be like the place where you guys are like, oh, this is so great, let's just stay here forever. Like,
Oh heavens no.
because then I have to just go find new people, and that just defeats the entire purpose of everything.
Right.
God no.
I'd rather not have to do that. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to be like, all right, cool, we're set. Let's just figure out what's going on with the ritual, and let's move on and be done from there.
Yeah. Get out.
So, yeah.
Just get out. It's too sketchy.
If we can get a boat on our way out, we'll do that. If we can't get a little boat, like just a little rowboat,
I'm a whale.
we'll just move on.
I can be
Just
the
be a
whale.
whale.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
we
want to
can
be in
join
the
this
middle.
shit.
It's
Come
not
on!
that I don't
Is it
trust
because
you.
is it
It's
because
that
I'm
I don't
fat?
trust being eaten by any creature.
I'm not saying I'll eat. I mean, fortunately, if you can kill me while I'm in beast form, and I'll just revert back. So you just, slit out my stomach, climb through my blowhole. Do something. I'm a cheap alternative.
I'm just saying, if we can get a boat, then we don't have to worry about climbing inside of a whale.
But if we can't,
Your
backup plans.
your natural
Bet.
body's reactions will be to dissolve us. That's okay. I just don't think that's it. I think we could
I'm
find
sure-
like multiple backup plans before I'm crawling into the mouth of
sure-
a whale.
Come on, it sounds like a party. I'm sure I can find something that I can turn into, and it's going to be great.
Could you turn into something that like we could climb onto your back as opposed
See,
to
I mean, you
into your
can.
mouth? That's where the problem comes from.
You
Is entering your digestive tract, even if just at the beginning of it, it's still
Listen.
not the best idea.
It could be worse.
It could be
Um,
worse. I could get stuck at the bottom trying to walk across. Like we've come to these different
I
conclusions.
think you're being too pessimistic about this. Fuck. Where is that? No, I'll. You can ride on my back.
See, that's
I see, and I could be like a dolphin, but I figured if I'm going to fit multiple things
Yeah.
on.
If you
my
could
back.
become like a whale and like tow the boat along, that would be great because like, stuff. It's great. I just don't like this whole like, hey, I'll be a whale and you crawl into my stomach and then cut yourself out and then I'll become not a whale anymore.
Could be
It's just a
fun.
lot of work.
Could be fun.
And we could also just get digested.
No, you'll be fine. Do you not trust me? What have I done to not?
It's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't trust any creature that's eating me. Really.
You know what? Fish are friends, man.
I don't think a whale is a fish. Aren't you a mammal?
Yes.
So I'm just saying that means that you
You're
literally
right.
by
You're
your
right.
logic
You're
there
right.
that you're not a friend. That was a deceptive, trying to make us think that you'd be a friend, but obviously I saw through that.
I am not trying to be deceptive. I'm just trying to be reassuring that things can go well. Aha. Okay, wait.
Well, we will see how that all plays out then.
I could turn into an octopus and grab you guys by my tentacles and just. That sounds like. That sounds like a really bad hint.
I played Melik and there was lots of cacophonies of
Oh.
anti-mage.
Oh god, I'm gonna make myself start wheezing if I don't stop. That's fine? Is that what you said?
So next week we will pick up from here. We will have discussed stuff and then rested. And we'll be waking up to do the ritual and get all set. So yeah, I think that'll work. I think we've got a good plan together up until anything happens that completely destroys all our plans, because that's usually how it works. Just make the best plan ever and then reality sets in.
You're screwed.
So, cool. Well, I will go ahead and shut us off then. We'll call it there. Thank everybody for joining us. Sorry we couldn't get into anything like too crazy. Just kind of a roleplay session discussing some stuff, but it happens. It's one of those things you can always be like, oh, we're going to call it a session because we don't have everybody. But
No.
so much stuff can come from a session where not everybody's there. So we'll call it there, and we will pick up. We have tomorrow where we'll be doing Ocean Blight, but we will pick up next week with our next episode of Weave-Blight. Did you say Ocean Blight?
You said
Ocean Bound.
Blight.
Ocean Bound.
It's Weed Blight and Ocean Blight? No.
Yeah. That works.
Weed Blight and Ocean Bound.
Weed blight. Weed blight?
Weed bound and